on my passenger seat are Leica Q series cameras. The one um, in the front, the black one, is a Leica Q2 monochrome. The one in the back, in they call it titanium finish, is a Leica Q original. They call it this is a titanium version, but I think it's only the color is titanium because the body seems like made out of plastic. I would say the Q2 has a little bit more metal, feels like in hand, than the Q. Both camera features the Leica Summilux 28mm f1.7 lens. Some people say the lens itself is worth about $4,000. So in a sense, Leica gave you the body for free. Um, the lens is really nice. It is not the 1.4 28mm that Leica makes for their M series, but the 1.7 is still very capable. Both camera features in-body stabilizer. You can turn that on and off. In the camera menu, they call it the OIS. You can on the Q2. There's actually another setting other than on off. You can set it on auto. I don't know what really the auto does, but for the longest time, I was shooting with that camera on auto. And just recently I turned it on. Some people, some purists, like a purist, thinking that um, the in-body stabilizer ruined the image quality, but I don't know. I know that my shaky hands ruined the photo quality. Bose camera, the lens features 49mm filter size, and one thing I really like about and don't like about is this lens cap. It's nicely made out of metal. It fits onto the lens hood very snug. The lens hood, as you can see, that it's a screw-on type to the outer thread of the lens. Um, it has enough clearance so you can use any of the 49mm filter on. I have the B&W filter. Seems works fine. And then the lens are autofocus lens, but you can also have a manual focus. This is very nice because the manual focus is very much mechanical action. There's a little button here. You press it and twist. Now you have a manual focus lens. This is really nice because combine that and the peak focus peaking, it's very capable. Actually, I'll say that you can almost focus as fast as well. Autofocus is still a little faster, but quite fast with manual focus on this. And then there is a ring in the back of the lens here, same as the Leica Q. If you turn this, the scale changes. See, focusing scale changes. This is for micro shooting. You can shoot quite close, and sometimes you have to turn back here. So the real issue when you use is sometimes you will knock this out of, like, say, somewhere in between. The camera will flag you, actually cause an error, says something wrong. So you have to check, make sure that either you line up the dot or on the manual, I mean not manual, on the micro mode. It's quite cool with the focusing scale changes. All these are mechanically linked, so feels quite nice. The other feature on the Leica Q and Q2 is that when you turn it on, there's a little tiny button here, right here. You can, let's see, let me turn the screen darker purposely. There you go. So you can press on it. So right now it's a 28 millimeter um, field of view. It's a 28 millimeter. That's 47. This is, the Leica Q2. So this is right now I'm getting 47 megapixel file. Well, I should say 47 megapixel image. If I press on this, now it's a 35. So if I frame everything in this Leica style frame lines, this is a 35 equivalent. If I press one more time, and that's 50 equivalent. And they also have a 75 millimeter equivalent. So I think this feature is very useful because 28 millimeter is very limiting, and the real downside is when you frame these at 35 millimeter, you only get 30 megapixel image, and then this will be at 50, I think it's 15 megapixel, and then 75 millimeter, this is like only like 6 megapixel. So you are losing megapixel for using the cropping in mode. What's one thing that's really nice about it though is these raw file gets imported into the Lightroom. It actually, Lightroom automatically detects it and gives you the preview just like what you see in here as a 35 millimeter. However, let's say I feel like my shot is too tight. You can also go to the cropping function and just reset the crop. You're gonna get back to that 28 millimeter file. So it's everything's still there, recorded onto the. You're not losing it, but on the JPEGs and the preview, they will give you exactly how you're set for. So I think 30 megapixel for a 35 millimeter field of view file is still very usable. 50 at 50 at the um, 15 megapixel, it's okay. Actually, on the Leica Q, on this camera, it only have a 2 frame line. So this one is a 50 and a 30, 35 and a 50, right? So remember this camera is a 24 megapixel camera. So at 35 millimeter field of view crop is a 15 megapixel image. And at 50, I think you're getting 8 megapixel. So, so in a sense, if I shoot this camera at 35 millimeter, I got 15 megapixel image. Whereas on the Q2, I can do 50 millimeter crop for the 15 megapixel image. So it's kind of interesting. I think if a Q3, come with a 61 megapixel sensor, the cropping function definitely can be even more useful because, if I can get somewhere like a higher than a 24 megapixel image on a like say 50 millimeter crop, it can be good. However, I'm really hoping that the Q2 at least features a 40 or 50 millimeter lens instead of a 28 millimeter lens. I understand that the Leica's bread and butter is the 50 millimeter lens and the 35 millimeter lens on the Leica M, so I'm not sure they are willing to add those lenses on the Leica Q. But the weight and size, gosh, these Q cameras are hard to beat. I mean, this is even better than the Leica M. I have now played with a M11. I heard it's a little lighter, but on my M10R, it's still quite a bit hefty. Part of, for me, my user experience on the Leica, it's always about lightweight, how thin the body is, the ergonomic of it. That really just make me want to go out and shoot more with the camera. So if Leica you're watching, please get us a Q with a 50 or 40 millimeter lens. That'll be awesome.